Hello my dear health seekers, Inga from Health Origins here. So today I'm going to share with you a quick white miso paste recipe. This recipe is ready in 3 days. So let's begin. So to find this recipe of white miso paste, I was scouring the internet, YouTube, and I couldn't find anywhere exact proportions and measurements of what I need, what kind of proportion of beans, soybeans, I need to mix with rice koji, because that's what basically determines whether it's a white miso paste, yellow miso paste, brown or even red miso paste, is the quantities of beans to rice koji. So this is rice koji. But I eventually found it, wouldn't you believe it, on the back of the rice koji packet. I found the actual white miso paste recipe, and that's what I'm going to be trying. So this is 300 grams of rice koji. So you would need to buy that probably online, unless you've got some good Asian supermarkets that might carry this as well, because this is obviously a Japanese, I believe, Japanese staple. They make all sorts with rice koji. So you'll need 300 grams for this particular recipe. Obviously you could reduce all the ingredients accordingly, but I've got 300 grams of rice koji. So this is white rice koji. So that's another recipe, I guess, I want to experiment myself to make some brown rice koji. This packet of 300 grams of inoculated rice koji. So basically it's just rice inoculated with this koji bacteria or fungus or whatever it is. I think it's bacteria. So it's actually, not that expensive, as in like it's rice and bacteria, and you can actually buy bacteria separately and make your own rice koji, but it does require some expertise and knowledge and trial and error. So I will try and master that one day, because this 300 grams cost me £10. So it's not the cheapest of things to make yourself, but with this amount and that amount of beans, so I've used 300 grams of dried soybeans, and you need to soak them for 24 hours. So these have been soaking for 24 hours, and I've drained them and rinsed them and drained them again, and I'm gonna be cooking them in my Instant Pot, so we'll need about 30 minutes. But if you have a regular pot, it says to simmer it for 3 to 4 hours. So quite a long time of simmering. So you need to make sure you put enough water and keep on maybe refilling water so it doesn't dry out. But yeah, I don't want to simmer it for 3 or 4 hours. So I'm just going to cook it in my Instant Pot. It'll need about 30 minutes. So adding my soaked soybeans, and then just filling with hot water just so that it submerges the beans. Yeah, so just enough to cover the beans, maybe with a little bit of water, and I'm gonna cook it on high for 30 minutes, and then we're gonna continue. The beans have cooked in the Instant Pot, and I've let it naturally release the pressure as well. So let's have a look. We're gonna drain these, and the main thing to remember is to leave some of this cooking water, because we might need to add some when we are mashing them if they are too dry. So don't pour it all out, just leave some and sieve it over a sieve so it doesn't have the floating skins in it. So I left 2 cups of bean water here, cooking water. I've drained my my soybeans. They're still hot, so I'm gonna just add that into a food processor. And you can either let it cool a little bit more, or you could just process it as it is until it's nice and smooth. If you want some bits in your miso, then you can, you know, kind of mash them with a masher. But I really like smooth miso, so I'm just gonna blend them in my food processor. And as you can see, it's quite thick here, so I'm gonna add just a little bit of water just to help it blend into a smooth consistency. And I forgot to tell you that you need to kind of test, you know, after you boil your beans, to test whether they are soft enough by mushing it between a thumb and a pinky finger. Apparently it needs to be easily mashable with that, because obviously if it doesn't, then you need to keep on boiling it. But mine are pretty soft. So yeah, so I'm just gonna scrape the sides a little bit and keep on blending. So I processed it for a minute and it seems pretty smooth to me, so that's good enough. So we're gonna put this in a bowl, and we're gonna be adding our rice, koji and salt to this. I've got my soybean paste here into a bowl, and we're gonna combine rice koji with salt. So you need 35 grams of salt. So I'm gonna empty all my rice koji into another bowl, and then I'm gonna put almost all of the salt. I'll leave a little bit to sprinkle on top, but just a little bit, just maybe half a teaspoon or so. And then the rest I'm just gonna mix in with my rice koji. And then I'm gonna combine the two. So I'm gonna add my salt and koji into my bean mixture. Actually though, before you do this, gosh, I should have checked this, make sure that your bean paste is not too hot. It can't be like really scalding hot. It has to be just a little bit above maybe skin temperature, just warm, that it feels warm. So that seems to be okay. But whew, I could have made a mistake here, because you could kill your bacteria if you put into a paste, you know, bean paste that is too hot, and then just mix it in. So that's mixed in well. You can go into it with your hands, but I think I made my bean mix a little bit too wet. I think I should have not added as much water as I did in the food processor, but it should be fine, because normally white miso pastes are actually quite, what's that word? They're not stiff, but they are loose. Is that the word? Anyway, they're not, you know, as stiff as the other pastes tend to be. So that should probably be okay. And if you're gonna use your hands to mix this, make sure they're really clean, because you don't want to introduce any bacteria into this. But I've disinfected 2-liter jars. Ideally, it's better if you have a containers that are more open, like than this, that basically are kind of maybe round or square, but like a little bit wider, so it's easier to pack it in for you. But I'm just gonna use these at the minute. So what you need to do, traditional method, is to roll kind of balls of this and just chuck it into the bottom quite forcefully to make sure that there's no air pockets. But because this is a quick miso, we're going to be making a really quick white miso paste, then it should not really matter, because the bacteria will not really have that much chance to proliferate. This is when, you know, you're storing your miso for half a year or even a year and longer. That's when you really want to prevent the air being inside and having any pockets and kind of spoiling your miso over time. But what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna try and pack it in with my hands. Yeah, you definitely want, if you have something a bit wider mouth, would be easier. And I'm going to divide this mix between the two jars because we're going to be trying two different methods. I'm going to be putting one in my dehydrator for 72 hours, and then the other one we're going to be putting in my Instant Pot on a yogurt function for also for 72 hours, and we'll see which method works better. And by the way, don't let your beans to cool down too much before you start, you know, preparing this mass, because it's best for koji, rice koji, to proliferate or to start fermenting at about 50 degrees Celsius. So that's the ideal temperature. That's the temperature we're going to put in our incubators. So yeah, so make sure your beans are at least slightly warm when you're doing this. And then we need to wipe it, to wipe the actual edges of the jar inside and outside if you've got it on. So just use a clean paper towel to start with. So just clean it well, and then afterwards, to just finish off, if you have some alcohol or sake would work as well. Just dip your kind of wipe or a paper towel in your alcohol and just wipe again, just to make sure there's no debris left on the edges and it's not going to start developing bad bacteria on there. So that's that one done. So I'm going to do the same with the other one. So now my jars are cleaned. I've got a little bit of salt that I've left over, so I'm going to just sprinkle on top of both of these jars. Because we're going to do a quick fermentation method, that's not that necessary. And then I've got some parchment paper that I cut little circles out of. I've done one double and then one single. I mean, I could have done two doubles, but the double I'm going to put in the one that I'm going to put in the dehydrator, just so that it doesn't dry it out too much. And this one I'm going to just put in the one that we're going to put in the Instant Pot. So just adding that to the surface here and flattening it down, making sure that it just sits on the very top and there's no kind of really air pockets getting in there. And now you want some kind of weight. So for the one that we're going to use in dehydrator, since it's not going to be like too wet of conditions, I've got a plastic bag, Ziploc bag with some salt, because it's like quite heavy. This is like some rock salt I have. So I'm just gonna put this on top, if I can fit it. So just add it to the top like this, and that actually will act as a little bit of a lid as well. So this is ready to go to my dehydrator, and this one I'm gonna add the top sheet as well. So just added that one on, and I've got this clean rock that I use for fermenting when I do my sauerkraut. So I'm just gonna put that on top as a weight here as well, just because we're gonna put this in my Instant Pot and there's gonna be a little bit more of a moist atmosphere there. So yeah, so these are now ready to be put in our incubators. I'll show you in a moment. So first up is the Instant Pot batch. I've never actually made yogurt in the Instant Pot yet because I do have my dehydrator where I just like, you know, culturing my yogurt. But what I did was, so the Instant Pot comes with a little trivet, so I put it upside down actually because the lid wouldn't close with my 1 liter jug. So if your jug is a little bit lower, then you could, you know, put that trivet the right way up. But I just wanted to lift it a little bit from that bottom so that the bottom of my miso here wouldn't get burned, you know, by touching the hot bottom there. So and I've put a little water container here, ceramic water container here, just to keep the humidity in there a little bit higher, and that is it. So I'm gonna just put the lid on, I'll put it to sealing, and I'm gonna, I haven't got it switched on, and then I'm just gonna press the yogurt function, and as you can see it puts 8 hours. So we'll see how many 8-hour cycles we'll need. So after each 8-hour cycle, I'll just have a look. There you go, you heard it started working. Yeah, so I'll leave this go for maybe 1 or 2 cycles, and then we're gonna turn this paste kind of around, bottoms up as they say, kind of mix it so that the bottom stuff goes up to the top, and go for a few more yogurt cycles. And then we're gonna do this one in my dehydrator. So this is my Excalibur dehydrator. It's a little bit of a bulky piece of machinery. So I'm gonna just, I took all the drawers out, and I'm just gonna put my miso at the bottom, as well as a bowl of water here as well. Gonna put my lid here at the front like that, and then I'm gonna set my temperature on to 50 degrees because that's the ideal temperature. Whereas with the Instant Pot, I can't actually, you know, choose a temperature per se, because yogurt, it just has whatever temperature it has. I think it's about 40, so it's a bit lower than what ideally miso needs. So we'll see how that works out. But here we can actually set to be 50 degrees. So this is 46, this is 52, so about there. So I've set it on around 50 degrees here, and it's only got 26 hours maximum. So I'm probably gonna just do 3 times 24 hours, so I can keep a count on. So yeah, so we'll check this after 1 day when we're turning the miso from the bottom to the top. So it's been 24 hours for these 2 misos. One is in the Instant Pot, this one, and this is in my dehydrator, and you can immediately see, I'll zoom in for you, there's actually some liquid forming, which is normally, that's where soy sauce is forming. Just at the top here, you can see kind of all throughout on this one. And obviously I can feel it's quite warm, whereas this one, it doesn't have any liquid, and it has some changes here. You can see it's kind of like more split, you know, more different, but this one seems like it's definitely doing more. So I'm not gonna turn them over just yet. I'm gonna wait for another day. So I think definitely the dehydrator method is winning because it's keeping a constant 50 degrees temperature, so it's higher, whereas I don't know what temperature Instant Pot is set at, but it's probably between 40 and 45 degrees. So yeah, so that's the difference. Obviously this is warmer, and that's the ideal temperature for koji to develop in our miso, in the white vegan miso. So yeah, so I'll let these go for another 3 cycles in my Instant Pot, and also 24 hours in my dehydrator, and it's so much easier to do it in the dehydrator as well. So if you have a yogurt maker where you can set temperature to 50, that would be much better actually than Instant Pot, I think. But we'll see what happens after another 24 hours. So it's been about 24 hours since I've started the miso fermenting procedure. So this is the miso jar from the Instant Pot, and this one is from my dehydrator. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of this liquid, which is just starting to form soy liquid, really. So what we need to do now is turn the paste over from the bottom to kind of to the top to mix it up. So I'm just gonna take, I'll start with this one. I'm just gonna take that parchment paper off, and I'm gonna just turn it round. It's actually quite nice and fluffy, it feels like it anyway. So what you're trying to do, you're trying to get the bottom bits up to the top, kind of just turn them round. And now evening out the surface here at the top again. So I'm just gonna put that parchment paper back on, and that will help me push the paste and level the paste out again. So that one is done, so I'll put the weight back on. Actually, before I do, I need to clean out the inside of the jar again. Yeah, so I'll just use a slightly damp paper towel to do this. Because we're not fermenting for too long, it doesn't really matter that much. But if you were gonna ferment it for half a year or a year, as you normally do with miso, then you definitely want to use some alcohol or something like that or sake. I know people use sake to just properly wipe the sides so you don't have any bacteria growing on there. And yeah, and then I'm gonna put my weight back on there. So that one is done. So now I'm gonna do the same with my one from the dehydrator to get my salt weight out. That takes a little bit of wiggling. There we go. Wow, there's proper liquid. Ooh, yeah, it's definitely miso tasting liquid, and it's tasting sweet actually. So yeah, so I'll keep that here on the top, and we just actually, I could pour this out and use this liquid just to flavor things, because it's already quite flavorsome. So I think I'm gonna just pour a bit of that liquid out before I turn this bottoms up. Yeah, so this liquid is quite nice and yummy. It's umami tasting, so I'll just pour it out into a little dish here and keep it in the fridge. It might age a little bit more, and I'll use it just to add to different marinades or dishes. And then I'm gonna just turn this one over as well. I can see still the grains of rice, because obviously we're doing a short fermentation. So let me taste test a little bit. Wow, it's pretty much like white miso paste almost already. So after another 24 hours, I think this will be ready. Amazing. So I'm gonna just put the lid back on, and then I'm gonna give it a quick wipe, and then I'm gonna add my salt weight in again. So that's it, it's ready to go back into my dehydrator again. So, and this one goes back into the Instant Pot. So I'm gonna give these another 24 hours and we're gonna check then. It's been 3 days that my white miso paste has been fermenting. So this one was fermenting in my dehydrator at 50 degrees Celsius. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of liquid again, and it's changed color quite a bit. As you can see, it's much darker than that one. And this one has been fermenting in my Instant Pot on a yogurt setting. So yeah, so you can see there's massive difference. I think this one is not quite ready yet. It doesn't have any liquid, and it didn't change the color as much. And actually I can see a little bit of white mold developing just at the top here. Because it's white, I think it's okay, but what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just change the parchment paper on top there. I'm gonna press it down again, and I'm gonna do it probably for 24 hours or even 48 hours in my dehydrator to finish this off. So yeah, if you have a yogurt maker that you can regulate, or a dehydrator that you can regulate the temperature and have it around 50 degrees, that's ideal, because in 3 days time you can have white miso. So what I'll do, I'll make it smooth, because I can still see some grains of rice here, but I want it to be a smooth white miso. So I'm gonna take out the weight, so our salt weight, and it's got some sticky liquid there, you know, the one that I poured out the other time. So it's kind of the start of soy sauce, if you like. It's quite a nice, sticky, flavorful liquid. So I can use that for marinades and different things. Yeah, nice and golden. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this parchment paper off here, and I'm gonna place the all of this paste in my jug here. So let me blend this up. Look at that, that's looking really nice and smooth now. And let me give this a go, let me taste test this after the 3 days. Oh wow, really nice. This recipe is actually not as salty as you get in the shop, so you might want to add a little bit more salt, for example, but it's really kind of nice, you know, deep flavor. It's got quite a bit of sweetness. Yeah, it's really delicious. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna put it in a sterilized ½ liter jar, because that was about ½ liter, and you know, I'm just gonna keep this in the fridge so that it can slowly age a little bit more even. So now the final bit of the experiment. So here I've got my white miso paste that I already showed you how I blended it, and I've put it in a jar. So we're going to compare that one and with the other one that I had initially in my Instant Pot for 3 days, full 24 hours. And then now I've added it to my dehydrator to just kind of give it a boost, because it wasn't quite ready from the Instant Pot. So let me just take out that salt. I mixed it once after the first 24 hours, and then now it's been another 24 hours. So as you can see, it's developed that golden liquid, and in fact it's even darker than the first one I had, pretty much, or very similar. So I'm gonna take the paper off, parchment paper, I'm gonna give it a good mix. So we're gonna compare what it's like, a slightly longer fermentation of about 5 days as opposed to 3 days here. So it's nice and fluffy. So this time I'm not gonna actually blend it. I'm just gonna have it as it is, and I'm gonna give a little go here of that one, and then we're gonna compare with the other one that we already did. It's got sweetness, definitely got sweetness, but I think it's got more tanginess than, if I remember, this one did. So let me compare the two. Yes. Okay. So this is much milder. It's not got so much tanginess. It's got kind of more like sweetness and like a smooth flavor, whereas this one, the longer you go, it develops more of like your red miso paste or your brown miso paste kind of taste. So it's not like your white miso as you used to from the shops. So if you want kind of more of a white miso, like a sweeter miso, it's definitely 3 days at about 50 degrees Celsius in a dehydrator, or if you've got a yogurt maker that can keep it at that temperature, that's perfect. But if you wanted a little bit deeper flavor, then you can go longer. You could go for 5 days, 6, 7 days. You could probably go up to a week or so, because you know, if you left it naturally, the white miso paste in the room temperature, it takes about 2 to 6 weeks, that recipe says. So if you don't have a dehydrator or a yogurt maker that can keep it at 50 degrees Celsius, then just keep it at room temperature or wherever, you know, you can find warmest, and you could, you know, start trying it after about 2-3 weeks. So it can take up to 2 or even up to 6 weeks. So that's it. So I hope you like this recipe. I hope it's useful for you. Let me know if you try it, and give me a thumbs up as well, because it helps your engagement and comments help to spread my message further. If you're new here to this channel, welcome, and subscribe for more videos and experiments like this on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And as always, remember, food is fuel, so be mindful of what you put in the body. Until next time.